everybody's kind of fucked up sexually.
No one has more power to influence your psychology than the person that you fuck on a regular basis.
Yeah. She's the one that
John
gave
wants
me.
to dive more into you.
Yeah, I want to dive more into your book.
John said, I read Alexandra this year. That book was phenomenal.
Open that book up.
Spread.
Okay.
Spread the book open.
Spread the book open.
Put
As
the
a
bookmark, put the bookmark in there.
In the middle.
Oh my God.
The big hormone Enneagram.
Let me lay it on the line. I got a little freakiness inside. Let you know that the man has got to deal with it.
Hi, I'm John Lukovich, sexual self-pres 4-5 link, 458 Trifix.
Hi, I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual 9-1, 974 Trifix.
What up, it's Emeka. I'm an 8-7, sexual self-pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I am a self-Parasocial 3, wing 4, with a 369 Trifix. If you like our podcast, guys, make sure you go like and subscribe on the Apple Podcast app. And if you really like us, you should definitely leave us a review.
Are you drinking, Nancy?
Yeah, I ran out of gin, so I'm drinking my roommate's Absolute vodka, and I forgot how shit vodka, and it's grapefruit. It's disgusting. So,
I'm drinking a very delicious lemon liqueur
ooh,
from Spain.
Fancy boy.
From my favorite place, Trader Joe's.
some limoncello.
of course.
Oh no, that's
The finest liqueurs in Trader Joe's.
Yes. Mixed with
All
an
natural.
Italian orange soda.
ooh.
It's not real drink unless it's from Trader Joe's.
When I used to work at a bar, so I used to work like a door guy, security guard, whatever, and all my coworkers were just like blue collar, stupid nothings. And so I'd order order drinks from the bartenders, and I'd be like, I need an orange juice without any ice with the lime, please. And they'd look at me and be like, you're just like a princess. They called me princess.
They called you princess?
Yes. They're like,
That's my new favorite nickname for you.
they're like, Emeka, you're not black, you're French black.
There you go.
Oh my God, that's phenomenal.
French black. Oh my God. I mean, we call y'all, princess fixes, as y'all know. So it's real.
Yeah, like the French culture. I think I was talking to Joseph yesterday. He sent an article that looked at the different parts of the world and categorized them by certain personalities. We're talking about French culture, and it's like French culture has got to be the most distinctively four-fixed culture on the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They think their shit is the best, and they hate everyone.
Yeah, they dislike everything and everyone, and we'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to go into the episode or not, but you should share the story of realizing your sister is a 7 out of 3.
That's hilarious. Like, I haven't seen her in like 5 years, and I just assumed that she was a 3. And so, yeah, I mean, it's realizing she's a 7. And I had dreamt about it. I dreamt about her after the zone. I dreamt about...
Yeah, you've been having psychic dreams.
Psychic dreams.
Oh, no. I remember you mentioning this. Yeah. I remember this. Yeah.
For whatever reason in my dream, I just wouldn't let it go. Like, I saw her with this 9 that she always travels with, and she was like having fun with her. And the thought that was reoccurring in my head is like, oh, it's 7s that collect 9s, but she's not a 7. And I was having this conversation with myself in the dream. And then so just like so weird that once I saw her again, I was like, holy shit, why is she so obnoxious? Have I changed or have she changed? She said something, I'm so fabulous. And I was like, oh no.
I remember you mentioning.
I'm so fabulous.
I was like, oh no.
G7 line right there.
I'm related to a 7.
Oh
Yes,
no.
So this is like the unconditional positive self-regard that David coined.
Mm-hmm.
Can Emeka or David, can you elaborate on unconditional positive self-regard?
It's self-explanatory, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, it's just anything, the 7's thinking anything that they are doing or want to do, or it's going to be amazing, or everyone's going to have a good time, or just if they're involved, it's going to be great.
But it's more
It's
than
also
that.
the assumption. It's the assumption that everything will also go their way. Like,
Yes.
he'll
Yeah.
definitely like me. She'll definitely like me. I'll
Yes.
definitely be able to charm them. Everyone's gonna have fun. I'm so. I can get my way because I'm just so beloved, and people want to do things and give me things,
Yes.
and I deserve it all.
Like, where does that fucking come from? Where does that come
Yeah.
from in the type structure?
Disgusting.
Or the other one is
Narcissism? I don't know.
for sure he's going to want to sleep with me.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Why wouldn't he?
Times
Ugh.
2.5.
Like, all right. So 4 is double frustration and has, like both a negative self-esteem, but also an elitism.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
type 1, I mean, that's something we could get into eventually. Is like if one has this like hidden narcissism about like, right?
Rightness.
I know what the thing to do is, or I'm right or whatever. But the 7, unconditional positive self-regard, and that it's everybody else's fault.
Right.
And it's not me. I'm not the, I'm just the fun one, or I'm the good one, or I'm the whatever.
Yeah.
I have not been able to penetrate where that comes from. Other than
one thing
it's
is, I was going to say, this is a little bit geeky, but like the 2 and 7, really they're both unconditional positive self-regard, and that's, you know what I mean? They're at the same spot on the symbol, and they're
Yeah,
they're
totally
sort of
agree.
the inversions though of each other. Like 7 is overt unconditional positive self-regard, and 2 is covert,
Mm.
but they're equally as full of themselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, no, they're equally as
Explains
like
why
I
I
have all
dislike
the
both.
goods and deserve all the goods, and people will.
Yes.
And I what I'm doing and being is a gift to everyone around me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a thing of like assumed, it's almost like assumed royalty,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with 7. Oh, and
You
2
know what?
can do it too.
And 2, yeah.
We've had some crazy things happen socially. I mean, I guess we have social crazy things happen every year, but we had some really crazy things happen socially.
We did.
this was a crazy year.
Crazy fair. Yeah, I mean, our year kicked off with Joker 9 is how our year kicked off.
I
That was this year. That's insane.
we had some crazy things, and we also, I think the first live pod we did was in response to a lot of drama that was happening as a result of the Joker 9 thing, and it's sort of like the drama that was happening in the group. So we had to do a pod basically to remind people this is who the fuck we are. Fuck you if you don't get it. And so
I forgot who the Joker 9 is.
Remember the guy that pissed all over our fucking.
That's right. Thank you. Jesus, that was okay.
He took
That was this year.
mushrooms. One of the most,
Yeah.
One of the most gentle
Chill.
mushrooms there. I mean, gentle drugs there is, and had a fucking
Just lost
meltdown
his
and was
mind.
like pissed on our shit and was violent and had to get dragged out by 6 New York City cops.
Was
and
that
then
on
try to
New
play
Year's?
victim. That was in January sometime last year. And then played victim that we abandoned him when he was like, "No, you were actually fucking dangerous."
that drew kind of a line in the sand because there's a whole bunch of people, there was a Discord that we were aware of, which was not a big deal to us because people talk shit all the time, whatever. But they used that event became sort of like a line in the sand for a lot of people to play out their gripes against us or you. And it was really disgusting to see how many people who were basically supporting and emboldening someone who was so in the wrong. All he had to do was apologize and fucking pay for the damage. And so that, I think, set the tone for the year in the sense of, boundaries.
Sorting who's in and out. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Like, I mean, that was a real educational moment for me because I have this kind of social blind, like, yeah, whatever kind of thing.
Right.
And I was kind of like I'd see Emeka the way that you would like lock down. And I go, yeah, whatever. It's not really,
It's not
you
that
know,
big of a deal.
Yeah, it's like an 8 thing or whatever. But then I was like, nah, that's all valid. That's totally
No,
valid.
he knows what's up.
The thing is,
And then like we are like very pathetic as a like we don't have a bunch of reach as a podcast, all this other stuff like this, but to get the sense that like the weirdness that happens when we're in somebody's ear holes week after week.
Yeah.
The weird thing, the parasocial thing.
Yeah.
Like I understand better why like people who are actually famous go insane.
Yes.
Yeah, this year
so
was
bizarre.
I mean, we got a taste of it last year. I think it was when the soul intercourse thing happened and we knew that the Discord was like talking shit and all this kind of stuff. We got a little bit of a taste of it, but I felt like, man, the Joker 9 episode was like a real, wake up call that this has real implications on my safety if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
And so even though that was really unfortunate, it was like we've had something serious like that happen when David years ago had his, the Natalie situation. Because I was naive before that. I didn't know that was even possible. I didn't know that someone could be that crazy and go to those lengths to ruin someone's life. So that was 2017, I believe, 2018.
Yeah.
It took like 6 months to resolve that. So I was like, yo, this is dangerous. This is actually, like people we let in. Like that's the biggest threat that we have. And even still this year and with the last zone that we had, we still had some weirdness. Fucking weirdness.
Yeah, I was going to say that parasocial thing definitely carried into this last zone too. There was some weird parasocial hunting shit that happened this past one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sad I missed that one, to be honest.
I think what we're all learning is just how, even as a social type, you, Alexander, that creating something like this puts you at a certain height that we are resistant to own and recognize.
Yeah.
In the sense
Own
that
the role of it.
Yeah, there is a certain level of respect that we have to maintain with our social position. And you can't just sort of like do this sort of like thing where, oh, we're cool. We can just relate as equals because we're not equals. Yeah. And there is a certain level of people are seeing us as social objects, and to sort of like say, oh, I did this with Emeka, or I did this with John, or I had this conversation, like it means something because we've created something that means so much to so many people. And to sort of own that.
Just the information, there's an information imbalance too, because these people are listening to you guys talk week after week after week. And like you guys knowingly or unknowingly share a lot of personal details that people pick up and track, and they create a whole personality profile and then interact with that when you're really still getting to know who these other people are.
Mm-hmm.
And like what happened to me in January, I know that I'm a social type and I have a 6.5 at that. So I should really be like hyper suspicious. Mm-hmm. And like, honestly, I am, but that still slipped through. And that just, I don't know, it made me like really, it made me still realize how vulnerable my dominant instinct is.
Yeah.
Kind of in the same way, like social dominant did not give me any leg up in protection.
People, I get nervous about people because I feel like people's are like, they are carriers like of diseases. Like it's almost like certain perspectives and certain access to certain other people. Or if you're dumb, like you're just going to bring dumb shit into my life. You're going to infect me with dumb shit. And also just the realizing all the different ways that people, because now it's way more nuanced. People are way into our stuff, and there are people who seem cool on the surface, and it's like you have to look so much deeper to see if do you have good character? Do you actually fit with us? Not just are you into our stuff, do you get it? But are you a good fit for the vibe, the social sphere that we're in?
It's like we've said, you think that if they're into our stuff and they're, ravenous fans or whatever, you just assume they're going to be some modicum level of respect,
right?
And decency, and turns out it's not always the case.
Yeah, there's a couple of levels to that, because one, there's a sort of like psychological self-sufficiency and like self-parenting that you have to have.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think we assume that other people have when they don't, and everybody slips up and like whatever, it's fine. Sure. But there's something I'm also learning is like, just because people play with the information doesn't mean that they're not still looking for looking for a parent. Yes. And I think that's a lot of why this kind of weird shit happens, is because there is like a psychological outsourcing of parenting that is put on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this like completely imbalanced relationship, because you can't have an equal partnership with someone that sees you as their parent.
Right. Yeah,
they doesn't realize they see you that way even more.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten a few of those messages this year of like people like trying to connect with me, and I I'm like, I have no idea who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really bizarre that you're sending me this message. And it's just like they'll like comment on every story that I post. I'm like, oh yeah, I did this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dope. Random human.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I like try to be kind, but I'm like, go away. It's very strange.
This year,
Infuriating.
2022. Yeah, no, I mean, I think overall, this year has been a good content year. I did a quick listen through, like kind of skipping a lot with our last drunk pod. And by the way, you know, in the Gurdjieff work, they have this thing called the toast to the idiots, which is it's like they have these certain essence types, and there's like, you know, they might correlate to the Enneagram. Who knows? There's 21 of them, I think. But anyway, it's a whole thing, and like they would get drunk, and Gurdjieff would toast the idiots, and it'd be like these certain essence types and these certain essence like essence defects. So essence is not this whole perfect thing. Essence has defects as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of feel like this is like, and talking with Alexandra, this is like our toast to the fools in a certain way, which is our version of toast to idiots. But cheers fools. I feel like this year was actually like it was. I'm very exhausted. I'm very burned out. Like I'm super burned out. I'm burned out from clients. I'm burned out from all directions. Play last boy, but is what Alexander said. But yeah, like I feel like this was like another really generative year, and that we.
Totally.
I mean, like we're talking about the first live pod we did. And that feels like a million years ago,
right?
I don't know. I feel like we've just come so far once again, and we've just generated so much content once again, and we've all had very personal ups and downs once again. And I don't know. It's just wild to be on the other end of this.
Yeah, I feel like this year had a different vibe from last year, because last year felt like an explosion. There was a lot of you know, we generated new stuff this year. We're going to do that every year. But last year felt like there was a lot more that got generated. And one of the things that Alexander said in the last live pod was like, well, we've done so much this year that we really need to take time to take it all in. And so when I look at the podcast list, I think we generated in some ways more quality, but with less episodes. Partly because there's so many things. Yeah, this year. We did more live pods because that takes more time, and people really appreciated that more. But there's just a lot of personal stuff that went down this year, and, you know, just learning to slow down and take things in. And speaking to your sense of exhaustion, in the first part of the year, like the first 3 or 4 months, I really, really felt burnt out, exhausted on multiple fronts. That stressful first couple months of the year, and of course ending that relationship really taught me to manage my energy, and just to see how limited I can't really take on so much. And so I had to learn to slow down. And so, you know, even dealing with all the stuff that I'm dealing with now, I'm much more equipped to, you know, because I recognize how much I have to. Don't take that phone call. Wait a day to respond. You don't have to respond to the email right now. You can respond 3 days later. Give yourself time to really take things in. And I also, from the business side of things, I'm not talking to people as much as I used to. I don't want to do sessions with this, that, and the other. Oh, you want to order another session? No, talk to me in 2 months. I don't want to talk to you again for a long, you know, just recognizing that I have a finite amount of energy, and this creative stuff needs a foundation of I'm good. I feel good.
Patience and time.
You know, like I'm not putting too much on my plate. So I'm doing less, but I feel like we did better with less this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I made a joke the other day about how our listeners will be like 10 years in the future or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's something there for me where I don't know, like I know that nobody's going to listen to us in fucking 10 years in the future, but the idea that like there's like the Enneagram is a sacred thing that exploded into the world, and that there is going to be something other than the dumb like watered down bullshit that's out there right now.
Yeah.
Is like a valuable thing. And like, I know like we've done much better this year in terms of getting new listeners and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like, I feel like our stuff really represents people who give more of a shit about the integrity of the Enneagram than they give a shit about selling mugs on their Etsy website or whatever, or promoting their dumb, I don't know, like, their BuzzFeed quiz or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like it's out there, and that's really important. And I don't know. I'm happy about that, even though it's been a weird from the Enneagram point of view, a weird year.
Yeah.
I'm happy about just we continue to discover things conversationally. I mean, just all the stuff that happened with rejection, object relation stuff. I mean, just to me, it's interesting. Well, first of all, that we're maybe people hold us with some authority or whatever, but you're listening to us learn, kind of in real time.
Yeah.
New things and clarifying things. And yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I was at some party, I think it was like this summer, and the organizer of the party, I introduced myself, told her about the podcast. I just named it, and she said, "Oh, I know that podcast."
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
And the party was like, I guess one thing I'm really happy about is that our listenership and the people that are coming our way seem more like us.
Yeah.
More so now than ever. So we're talking about a lot more interesting weirdos are coming to the group, or to younger, interesting weirdos. And so I feel like it's not just that we're creating, Enneagram content that's really authentic and accurate, is that we're creating content for people who are in this internet age generation, which is a completely different culture and language, and people who get internet culture and sort of the way that we relate to things and we communicate, and the sort of humor that we have online. And so a lot of people who are coming our way now are people who really appreciate what we're doing, because I've said this before, like, we're creating stuff that's going to appeal to people in the future, because the Enneagram is so far behind. It's just professional boomers. Now it's just like evangelicals, which is like white nationalism light.
Yeah, totally.
Christians are going to love that.
Yeah.
But, the people who are like interesting or young and get internet culture, who are interested in spirituality, but not like this, stuck up spirituality, something real conversations by real people. I think that they're really starting to appreciate our work. So I do believe that we're going to blow up eventually. It's just not going to be the people that are currently into the Enneagram.
Yeah, let's see. Like, I'm pretty drunk, and I've been drunk, so I had more thoughts that I was gonna like share, but then we got really into Darktown, which is good. Like, I love that, and I wanted to check in, but like I had more like coherent thinking ahead of this. Let's see.
I don't think I had any coherent thinking, but
I had some thoughts. I was just thinking about like Julie coming on here to do Kali in the House. Yeah. That was probably my favorite episode from the point of view of the ideas that she brought were just kind of like, man, I really want to go back and listen to that again and explore that, because she introduced some stuff about the feminine and how there is like an ebb and flow. And let's say 1 year is an expansion and shit happens to you. You have to give yourself time to actually take that in. And so I felt like the vibe of this year, I mean, there was just, at least for me, there was a lot of like stuff coming to an end, stuff dying. And there's a sense of like giving yourself time to actually take in
do a full cycle.
Yeah, the full cycle of like that came to an end. What did I gain from that? And a lot of reflection. And so it feels like that was fertile ground for a lot of new stuff. It wasn't like an explosion of new stuff, but it was like this was coming from a place of like really giving yourself time. And so that's why I feel like I'm a much better place, even with my dad passing. It's like the stuff that happened early in the year with the Joker 9, with my dad having the stroke, and the drama in the group and all this stuff. Like I had to really learn how to slow down and not get burnt out with all this stuff and say no to things and really being able to handle stress. I just feel like I'm much better placed with that.
I feel like this has
Yeah.
been a
Your
really
tendency is
significant
probably
year.
to jump on stuff right away.
Yeah.
You know, like
Not
yeah,
doing that
like
anymore.
just something came in and you need to address it. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm not doing that anymore.
I feel like this has been a really significant year for you in particular, Emeka.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of been able to bear witness to several endings that you've had to go through.
Yep.
Evidently, you know, like closing of the circle or I don't know, tying knots or whatever. And it seems like it's been not a challenge because I don't want to say I'm sure it's been challenging, but it seems like like the call to action has been able to appropriately balance boundaries and compassion.
Yeah.
And also again boundaries and like an openness and a vulnerability and like an honest self-reflection. And I feel like it's been really cool to watch you go through that because I think you've been doing it really gracefully and
Thank you.
yeah, just really well. This seems like it's been a year of Emeka.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I
agree.
had a lot of stuff go down this year,
You had
and
a lot of stuff go down, yeah, and you've still been holding it down like a parent.
Yeah.
Been really holding a lot and dealing with a lot and processing and having to like balance things not just like in an external like pragmatic way, but also in a sort of delicate kind of feminine way too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
you've been not only like holding your physical life together, but you've been allowing yourself to process through that as well.
Yeah. I had to, the last relationship I was in, it put me in a really, really difficult spot. And I had to really summon a lot of compassion to deal with that. And that whole experience cracked me open in a way nothing else ever has because I didn't have the option to shut down. And so just being able to stay in there and give myself space and still be able to communicate what I'm going through with the people involved, that changed me. And that really gave me some tools like, okay, I can deal with some really difficult stuff. And then even just like stuff that's happened with work, just having drama and dealing with that and just realizing it's not up to you. That's kind of like the burden that I sometimes carry is like, oh, I'm gonna have to be the one to hold it all together. And just recognizing, yeah, I have a part to play and maybe it's a big part, but it's not the whole part. It's not up to me to keep this together and, taking on all the stress and so that's allowed me to save energy for myself, to take time to recognize like, yo, you can be really affected in a really negative way by a lot of things. You need to give yourself time to deal with shit and figure out how you feel about things. And before you feel like obligated to act, because I could just run around in circles, doing things, fixing things. And so that's been the biggest thing this year. It's just to slow down, just realize how much better I am when I give myself time to really, even just with social, like, recognizing, oh, it's just a matter of time. I need to give myself time to think about you, figure out how I feel about, I don't have to gamble. I don't have to rush into anything. If you're a long-term person, you're going to be a long-term person. So I've learned a lot this year to slow down and give myself time to really process some shit because I had to. I had a lot of difficult shit happen, so I had to.
It's been really impressive to watch. I think you've been doing really well.
Thank you.
Little baby.
And David, how have you been this year?
What was the question?
How are you doing
How
with
was this
your
year?
David Gray's
We're
pussy?
asking about
pussy
your
game?
existence.
Pussy pad.
I mean, pussy pad. Oh yeah.
We learned some things about 7-Fix this year, didn't we?
Yeah. Let's see. Man. Trying to get me to do a cohesive assessment of a year. Good luck. That's hurting
We'll
the
get
foul.
one next year about this year.
last.
Well, one thing that we did discuss last year, because we went around and talked about what did each person want to do the following year, is like David you were talking about like what it would take for you to get going on the book. So how did the last year We did talk about a lot of stuff that we didn't end up doing, so I want to circle back around to that because there's some things we did say that didn't come around to happening.
Well, the book's getting more attention here lately, partly because of my new friends that I've been spending more time with. She's interested in pushing that along and has some actual, contributions and ideas there. Plus, just I don't know, whatever the connection there is catalyzing some forward motion.
Yeah, one of the things that it's always been kind of seemingly that you needed more of was the intellectual connection.
Yes.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say the same thing. An intellectual colleague rather than a student.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, no, and that's definitely the case here. I mean, like major nerdy colleague, associate who can do research for me and all that shit. Nerdy in a not so nerdy package.
Very non-nerdy.
Nerdy in a hot package.
Yeah.
Isn't that the
hot
holy
nerd?
grail?
You did it.
That's been good.
Yeah, hot nerd is the best.
Hot nerd is the best.
I think I've seen that porn
Oh my
channel.
God.
Yeah, no, and the other thing too
Hotnerd.com.
is the thing with Kristen and making some. We're doing a revision of the Trifix.
The Trifix.
book. Yeah, and one thing I'm doing there is to add some verbiage, which, it's not my tendency, right? But to add, to add some stuff with where like I'm taking each of the fixes, let's say, in a given stem, and saying, like 1 augments this aspect of 6. And it diminishes this aspect of 6, and 6 augments this and diminishes this in 1. You know what I mean? So it's just a simple
amazing.
augment diminish
Yeah.
thing, and then that becomes kind of a description. Once you put all 3 stems together, that in effect becomes a description for each trifix. So that's
Nice.
exciting, and Kristen's
It's very cool.
paintings are coming along beautifully, as you guys have probably seen, and
Mhm.
so yeah, that's
Yeah,
coming along.
Shout out to all the new friends we've made this year. The
Totally.
the real
Yeah.
ones. You know who you are.
The good ones.
Yeah.
And pruning the ones that aren't real friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Expelling the rejects. One of the things that we talked about last year, this is mainly you, John, and Alexandra, was talking about getting into some more sex talk.
Oh.
And
Oh,
yeah, like
us getting into sex talk?
well, just like we wanted to get back into, the soul intercourse episode, that was a big catalyst, and just talk. I think one of the things, what you guys mentioned was like, how do you get in touch with the conscious sexuality? And more so than that, I realized that there's a big gaping hole of people not fully really understanding sexual blind, and like 90% of the people that we run into are sexual blind. So I think one of the things that would be cool to do next year is to completely annihilate the sexual instinct and sexuality. It's probably going to take a couple years to do, but just from multiple angles, just hit the back walls on that.
Do you want to say anything before I interrupt?
No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, we've been talking about doing our own like sort of sub podcast or offshoot podcast where we explore as a couple.
Yeah.
But even just like overall, like it's not. Let's see, how do I put this? One of the things that's happened this year for me personally is that a lot of people come to me around their sexual trauma. And for anybody listening, like, I don't know what's going to stay in this episode or not, but because we're going all over the place, but, everybody's kind of fucked up sexually.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's got, like, sexual insecurity, sexual trauma. Everybody feels, has had sexual abuse in some way. It can be emotional sexual abuse. It can be physical sexual abuse. Self-inflicted. It can be other-inflicted. I mean, it's like, it's all over the place. And a lot of people come to me and shared like, very deep, dark secrets, whatever with me. And, like even before this year, I was aware of a lot of this stuff through breath work because a lot of that stuff comes out. But Alexander loves reality shows, and one of the things that those reality shows has kind of put a emphasis on are the ways that people confuse the instincts and the centers and object relations and their history with attraction. And
right,
like what is eroticism, what is intimacy, all these kind of questions. And so we've talked about like doing something ourselves, I don't know, but there's so much like and one of the things I've gotten sort of I get kind of fascinated with weirdos of different kinds. And so like I started with getting fascinated with Keith Raniere, which got me fascinated with like Sam Bankman-Fried and Elizabeth Holmes and all these kind of like big scammers and stuff like this. But I've also gotten fascinated with like polyamory influencers.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not a polyamorist or whatever at all yet, but not at all. But like I think some people are genuinely like have that kind of orientation, but a lot of it is ways that people kind of trying to manage wounds around the sexual instinct and the social instinct. And a lot of the polyamorous influencers I follow are sexual blind.
I can imagine.
And there is a way in which they're trying to create mental rationales around wounds around the sexual instinct.
Yes.
And, fears around that sense of sexual instinct's desire to be chosen.
Yeah.
And that's interesting from the point of view of being sexual blind and yet still motivated by the fears of the sexual instinct.
Yeah.
Right? The ways that we're motivated by the fears of the instincts that are blind to us.
Yeah.
And so I don't really know how to delineate or whatever. I'm, like I said, I'm very drunk. But, and not to say that like heterosexual monogamous relationships are necessarily any better than polyamorous relationships. They're the same issues, but they're just like brought about through a dozen people versus one other person. And so it's like, what are those issues specifically? And what are those confusions instinctually, emotionally, socially? And like, I don't know, like there's so much there that it's almost like we don't quite know where to start, and we don't know if this is the platform or if another podcast is the platform.
Yeah. I was thinking this is like such a huge, because remember in New York we were discussing like this is relationships has been the thing that we've all been sort of exploring, and if there was the big mainstream thing that we could work on or we could offer, it'd be taking the soul intercourse and making that a thing, or making. So it does feel like it's so big that it has to be its own thing, and I think it needs to be its own thing. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's really big.
It's huge, and I feel like the lens of the Enneagram Instincts gives a special lens to look at it. But I mean, our sense of what attraction is and what it's meant to represent, and all the emotional issues that go within, are like it's so skewed. And not to say that like Alexander and I have it right or something, but I feel like we've gotten some sort of
we do.
We do, but we've gotten some insights. I mean, we have our own things, but like I don't know, like I feel like there is a whole God, I don't know, I feel like our generation especially is like very much fuck around, right?
Yeah, right.
And it used to be very much like you'd stick with somebody that you didn't even necessarily like for very much, but for a very long time and create a life. And that's like the synthesis, antithesis. But what's a synthesis? Right? And I don't feel like anybody, like I feel like our generation is still, even though there's a lot more sexual exploration and a lot of like infographics on Instagram about like sexuality, there's not a lot of intimacy. There's not a lot of emotional trust.
Yeah.
And it's all very much still in a kind of neoliberal like shopping for the right sexual partner.
Right.
And there's some parts of me that are conservative, and there's some parts of me that are way like outside of the norm or whatever. But like I feel like we need to find new language for intimacy in relationships that isn't just about like shopping for the right optimal purchase, you know? And what is like one of the things that really struck me about this whole, and of course, episodes was, you know, like Emeka, you talking about like preparing yourself for intimacy. And that's a whole other thing. And I feel like that's a sensibility that is lost in our whole culture. Like whether somebody thinks they're going to just like get with their high school sweetheart or they're going to like fuck a bunch of people and find out who's the best.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing too about, you know, why people either cheat or they get in these situationships or whatever, where it's like they kind of dilute their own pool of who they want that kind of connection with, because the idea of being all in one person is too overwhelming or too scary. And so I don't know, there's all these different factors involved that are kind of interesting and might be interesting to break down in more detail.
You know, I've noticed the last couple of years, just in the podcasting content creation space, I'm always paying attention to who gets disproportionate amount of success, just or what are the topics that grab people's attention in a big way. And the last couple of years, I've just noticed that the male-female dynamics, and so you get these on the right-wing-ish male figures who come along, who get so much fame and so much attention, like the Andrew Tates, Kevin Samuel before him, the Jordan Petersons, who there's just a revolving door of these guys, and who appeal to like men and women don't know what the fuck to do, because it's a completely different paradigm of you know, marriage used to be a thing that you needed to do, and it's not, no one needs marriage anymore. And so the way that men and women relate to each other is very different, because it's just not what it used to be. And so people are still trying to figure out like what sort of a structure can I use to understand how I can relate to the opposite sex. And so it's been really attractive to just revert back to the way things used to be. So like these guys come along and like, guys, you need to be more masculine. You need to, you know, be better providers, and, you know, find a feminine, submissive woman who can be chaste. And, you know, so it appeals to a part of people who are like, I'm just going to go back to the way things used to be, because that's when things were good. But it's like, things are different now. Things are very different now. And so people are looking for answers. And so this idea of, do you remember that friend of Joseph's, that fucking guy that you would argue with?
Yeah, fuck that guy.
He's fucking making a killing on giving stupid advice on, you know, male-female relationships.
Yeah. He comes up on my TikTok like embarrassingly often.
They're Intimate Communion by God, what is that guy's fucking name? There's a guy who actually does useful advice about sexual polarity. It's like something Data. His last name is Data.
David Data, yeah.
David Data. Zach Rhodes takes David Data's like paradigm and makes it and reduces it to its most stupid and just banks that at the basis of his whole thing. So yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah. And so I think there's a ripe, fertile ground, the topic of relationships. And I mean, shit, I went through some shit this year, and I've realized it's the most important decision one can make is who your romantic partner is, because you spend more time talking to this person, around this person. No one has more power to influence your psychology than the person that you fuck on a regular basis.
Yeah. I mean, even just like basic attachment theory is like, once you are psychologically attached to somebody else, they have complete control over your regulation or dysregulation. So like choosing someone that you trust to understand you, that you trust to be compassionate with you, that you trust to challenge you, but not like tear you down, is a like paramountly important decision. Yeah.
Some of the most stressful times in my life have been, I was like, holy shit, I'm not ready to deal with this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we could go into attachment theory. I read Esther Perel's book, Mating in Captivity, this year, and both the book on attachment and Mating in Captivity, they were amazing. They were really, really good. And I want to dive into more of her stuff, because she's the one that gave me the... She's the one that
John
gave
wants to
me.
dive more into you.
Yeah, I want to dive more into your book.
John said, I read Alexandra this year. That book was phenomenal.
Open that book up.
Oh my
Spread.
God.
Okay.
Spread the book open.
Spread the book open.
Put the
Esther
bookmark,
Perel.
put the bookmark in there.
In the
Close
middle.
my eyes.
Oh my God.
Esther Perel is the one that gave me the language for. Esther Perel is the one that gave me the language for eroticism and intimacy existing on two sides of a polarity.
Okay.
You know,
Nice.
that you can
That's
either
interesting.
have intimacy, but intimacy and familiarity
yeah,
is the
right,
killer of eroticism, which is based in mystery. So in a long-term relationship, you don't have to choose one or the other, but it is absolutely like you have to go into it knowing that only one can exist at the same at a time.
Wow.
It's not about having both at like an equal balance. It's like one exists at one time and you just fully don't have the other one, and then you have the other one. And it's just a constant volley back and forth between those two things. Because people obviously need to feel familiar and to feel like they have trust and to feel like they have closeness, but people also do need to be captivated and fascinated and charged and excited. So, fun stuff. Tune in next year.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. And I mean, like being a sexual type, you know, people come to me to understand the sexual instinct, and there are things I can definitely help them with. But for me as a sexual instinct type, you know, connecting with my social instinct has been the unlocker of my own eroticism.
Yeah.
And you know, being seen as a person and recognizing that my partner wants to be seen as a person, and not getting into this sort of sexual self-pres functional
Objectification.
objectification of what I like okay, like get my partner off in this mechanical way or something kind of sensibility. And you know, I mean, trying like the attempt to see myself as a person has brought up incredible wounds around personhood I didn't know I had. And so to have been in prior relationships where I was just rendered a function in that relationship has made me recognize how much I was arranging my life in a way to prevent the recognition of certain things. And so, I don't know, I feel like whatever we offer in the future around relationships, and, you know, we're talking about object relations and instincts, I don't know, it can be a major way for people to not just to grow, but also to get in that place of, in a sense, blankness, in a sense of like confusion, which I think is a good place, because I think that like everything is sort of devolving and disrupting in a certain way where there needs to be a new sense of like, what now, what next. And like yesterday, my Gurdjieff group met in person for the first time in 3 fucking years since the pandemic.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it was super powerful. Like we have a new spot in the middle of Midtown New York, and to be in a group in person is a whole thing, you know. And to be with people that like a lot of these people, I don't know their fucking names. I don't know what their names are. I've been in the group since 2016, I think. I don't know a lot of their names, but we've been working together intensely for a long time, and we don't talk. We don't like connect on a personality level, but there's something about it that was just like, what do we feed? Like, what are we always feeding? And whether it's relationships, whether it's Enneagram, whether it's, I don't know, whatever we're doing. I don't know, that was just so clear to me yesterday. And to kind of reestablish from the point of view of the Gurdjieff work, that dough, that like new thing in this new place, in this new situation, was really profound. And so, I don't know, I feel like relationships definitely are the place of a lot of inner work. And I feel like the Enneagram gives us the terminology to use relationships as inner work effectively.
Yeah, nothing else confronts your own blind spots and shadows more directly in a really painful way.
And it names all the parts too, so you can get a
Yeah.
better view into it in a sort of three-dimensional way. That makes sense.
I think I had heard a quote. Someone said that we're trying to make an argument for the value of romantic relationships is that there's only so much you can grow on your own, that you need someone to act as such a intimate mirror.
Catalyst.
Yeah, that. And so coming out of the relationship that I had this year, that relationship, I saw myself more so in that relationship than, the past 5 years. Like, that was a transformative experience for me. So as a social blind who overvalues my alone time, I recognize that how powerful relationships can be. It is literally the most important decision you can make, and it can make or break, or it can determine so much of your life.
Yeah, I know I've grown more in the past 5 years with being with Brian than I have any time before, and part of it's definitely like the age at which I've been with him, but a lot of it is him pushing me to be
Nancy,
everything I can't be.
how, like, you got married this year?
Oh yeah,
And moved across the country.
yes,
This has been-
Across
it's a
the
big
world.
year for you.
Oh, yeah, across the world country.
Are you gonna move again?
Yeah, I might move again.
Okay.
Finland.
Finland?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're hoping Finland. We're hoping Helsinki. Netherlands just isn't doing it for us
Hang out with Kaisa.
right now.
Is it
Yeah.
is it that where you're staying is too small of a town? Is that it?
I mean, there's a lot of things, man. I could go on for hours, but basically, to like just break it down into the basics, the living situation in the Netherlands is really hard for everyone in the Netherlands because the housing crisis is way worse than I thought it was here. People can say there's a housing crisis, but until you experience it, you're like, oh, there's a fucking housing crisis.
Yeah.
So we have literally no other option than to live where we are in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. And
Wow.
I cannot stand it. I cannot stand living in the country.
Yeah.
I need a city. And then the school isn't what I hoped. It's more of a vocational school than an actual STEM focused science school, which is like
Okay.
not cool.
Right.
So, it is what it is. And then like the Netherlands as a country is great. Our situation in the Netherlands is terrible.
Gotcha.
And there's no option for us to change that situation that we're in.
Right.
So it's like, we're just going to move on and see what, we're here. We might as well see what we can do.
Yeah.
We have the finances for at least another 6 months to kind of float. So Brian's looking for work in Finland, and we're really hoping to get in a better situation there.
Yeah.
We're hoping to live in Helsinki and like I'm hoping to get into like a real science-based program.
Did you say they're more responsive there too, as far as
Massively better housing market? Like the housing market, I can find an apartment for next week if I wanted to that allows dogs. Brian has gotten like responses about jobs. Like he hasn't gotten an interview yet, but like they're responding nonstop to him. So, we've only been like thinking about this seriously for maybe 2.5 weeks. So it's early days, but yeah, I mean, this year's been like, there's a trend on TikTok going on where it's like January you talking to December you. And now January you is like, well, did we do it? And December you is like, yeah.
No.
Yeah, we did it, but it's not what you hoped. And like, yeah, I think the past 2 or 3 months, I've been dealing with a lot of like disappointment, and just kind of it really like leveled me the past month and a half. So I started going back to therapy to like really kind of try and deal with it, because it just fucking hit me like a Mack truck. It was not good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like grief, and like this was 3 years in the making, and it's not what we wanted it to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been so hard. So we basically have to, redo it, but now we don't have any friends. We don't have anyone.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah, that's
completely
hard.
alone here. Yeah. So it's, I I think the past like month and a half, the past 2 months maybe, whenever Julie was on, it really kind of kicked something into gear in me of like wanting to kind of reconnect with like the soft side of like feminine.
Right.
Yeah.
I felt like I had been functioning in that masculine space for so long. And although things aren't working out here, it's a much slower life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's allowing me to kind of play in spaces that I hadn't been in a long time. Like I was talking to Alejohndra, I was like, I really want to get into some form of like softer mysticism and kind of toy around with it and just see what's there.
Yeah.
Because you know, I think there's a part of me that really wants that connection to like the earth and the universe and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of gives me the ick a little bit. But there's something there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, living in this space where I am and just in school, not working, has really allowed me to just slow way down.
Yeah.
And get in touch with me. And it's really interesting. So I'm kind of excited to see where that leads because I'm like journaling now. I'm going to the gym. Like I'm doing all like the things that I've wanted to do for so long, and things are coming up and like really I'm experiencing a lot more of like myself now. It's just not very comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of I'm excited to see where that leads.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. Imagine it's uncomfortable now, but I can't. Yeah, I'm excited to see where you end up.
Yeah, me too. And I'm actually really like I said, I'm going back to therapy, and I wasn't expecting to get a lot out of it, but it's like a lot more is coming up, and I'm really enjoying it more than I thought I would. So that's kind of exciting for me.
Assertive type slowing down.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do.
David, what's our deal? Should we slow down too?
You're already slow.
No, please, no. Please,
I
no.
don't think I can go any slower, actually.
I think I should
Alexander.
slow down. I think I've been doing too much.
Yeah, right.
I've been thinking about my website for like 6 months straight. I'm exhausted.
That is
That's
so
a lot of
much.
doing.
So much.
It's a miracle that you finally submitted your OPS video.
Listen, I didn't forget. I just refused, okay? You were putting pressure on me, so I was like, now I have to put it off for another month because Emeka doesn't know how to just not tell me what to do.
I've learned so much about nines in those last couple years.
You can't push him.
You can't push him at all.
Can't push him.
A little bit, and then you go, no, like, let me double time the punishment for punching me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
now
God.
there's a punishment
Yeah.
for pushing. Yeah. So it's going to take now 4 weeks instead of 1 week.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I haven't processed my OPS type yet, but I got what the most extroverted stacking there is. So this is just this is just another thing of like, this is now, I think, the third type of like modality typing that I've received that is like kind of intense. So this year has been a weird challenge of like a further challenge of my 9 self-image where I'm like, I'm just easygoing and like,
No, you're not.
I'm
so
whatever. And then I get this feedback that I'm like intense.
Blink twice
You
if you
know,
need help.
Yeah, I'm the 458 sexual self-pres. Help.
Trauma response.
Just joking. I love you, baby. Yeah, I want to go into OPS at some point because the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, eh. But
there's a lot there. Let's do an episode where we have.
We'll do an episode.
Ikram come and help us discuss our types because we all have. I guess Nancy, you haven't done it yet.
Yeah, no, I actually do want to get into it. When you guys originally went into it, I just didn't have the space to.
Oh, so now
think about it.
If
But
you
now I'm
can,
interested.
if you can get a video done before the first, I'll submit it for you.
Yeah, do a video ASAP. Do it like tonight or tomorrow.
I can do that.
You just need to talk for. You just need to talk for 45 minutes. I'll send you the
midnight.
link.
You don't need to think about it for 4 months straight first. You could just do it
No.
tonight.
No, I'm not
She's an
doing it
assertive
tonight,
type.
but I could do it in like 2 days.
But I was curious, what were you guys' favorite episodes or topics this year? And what were your favorite guests or things that you want to talk about next year or topics for next year?
So the Julie Harris Callie in the house, that was my favorite in terms of kind of mind opening, portal opening, like that connected a lot of dots. But in terms of my favorite, in terms of energy, like, because I fucking produce these things, I'm always like, some episodes are like, damn, that was a really goddamn good episode. The We Give You 9 Wings episode, in terms of like the energy, the sound, all of it, like that to me was the best produced, or the best energy, the best all around episode that we did this year. And it's also, I think, our second most popular episode this year. It's up there. It's number one or two.
Aside from We Talk Sex.
Well, that wasn't the most famous, but that was the one that people started on the most. But I would say, what was the most famous episode we did this year? It might have been the Ian Cron episode or the rejection letter.
God, so many, like, I had somebody who stopped working with me because of Ian Cron.
Wow. Yes.
They said, I can't work with you anymore because, yeah, whatever.
Because you're a meanie.
Because I'm mean. Yeah.
Why are you so mean?
I want to do more stuff like that. I mean, I've been teasing about like my producing some of my own stuff, and St. Juice is coming next year, and St. Juice is going to be more fuckery, more
excellent,
more absurdist humor. I want to, because I mean, we in like the universe of all the things that we do, we teach a lot, but there's also kind of humor and comedy that can be spliced in, entertainment, and I want St. Juice to be like all the stuff that doesn't fit into necessarily like a teaching modality. Just like, I mean, of course, there might be some things people learn from it, but like an Adult Swim for Enneagram spirituality.
Right. I'll say that for me, my favorite episode this year, partially just because I was able to kind of like go off the deep end in a way that I don't feel like I often have the space for, was that Upside Down Triangle episode.
Oh yeah, that was fucking cool.
Which one?
That was really fun for me.
What triangle?
The triangle, the Upside Down.
Oh
episode.
Yeah, we just like went really abstract, and I was kind of like,
that's true.
That was very self-indulgent for me, but it was really fun, and it really meant a lot. And yeah, that was really good for me. And then I was thinking about guests who I want for next year, and I don't think it's possible or likely, but I want Hitomi Unomi and Alejohndra to have a conversation.
Oh yeah,
I want
Why not?
Hitomi Unomi and
two narcissistic
have like
9s.
Yeah. Oh my god. It'd be the hottest thing of those two.
Two spirit goddess 9s.
Goddess 9s. Two goddess 9s talking and just relating
in the bosom of love.
Yeah, relating. He wants to watch us relate.
Yeah. I have I joke that Alexander is Hitomi you don't know me.
There you go.
Then
it's not really a podcast that you want, John. It's more of a oral wrestling.
More like a private experience.
Yeah. I was gonna say you want an orgy for a threesome.
Alexander wants us to change
This is offending my social self-pres sensibilities.
Oh, okay.
What is it not offending though?
Shut up, John.
Anyway,
that's funny.
That's what I'd like in the podcast.
I think my favorite episode was the one where we did I always like stuff that's about me,
Yeah.
So
of course. 7 fix after all over here.
7 secondary 7 unconditional positive self-regard about my own ideas.
Disgusting.
The one that we did on what was that thing with the I called it the reflections. You remember that one?
Oh yeah.
We were doing like 3, 7, 8, 1, 2, 6 and all that stuff. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I thought that went pretty well. I liked it. One thing I want to put out there to put some pressure on me is, and Emeka's heard me mention it before, I think, is I want to do a YouTube video series where I go through all of my sort of David Gray ecosystem. What the idea is to like have a camera sort of behind me looking over my shoulder, and drawing on an Enneagram symbol some of my various ideas and a Bhava chakra, and I'll just take out a new slip of paper and start drawing arrows from here to here, and this is this and all that kind of stuff. But also like maybe split screen it so that
Awesome.
you've got the screen, you've got the camera over my shoulder, but also like a graphic so you can see what I'm seeing in a more clear way. So that's one thing I want to do this year.
That would be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I want more David Gray content.
Cool.
Yeah, I want to listen to his sultry voice.
This year we did 3 live pods. That was pretty cool. We hadn't done
3?
that before. Yeah, we did 3 live pods.
Yeah, we did. Actually.
Mhm.
And, all right, there was the
was
2 at the zones. What was the other one?
There was
Nancy's wedding.
My wedding.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The one we had
Oh,
to set people straight.
which-
Had to let people know. Don't fuck with us.
Which, speaking of, I'm like scrolling through the podcast like episode list or whatever, and I'm hang on, I just lost. Oh no, here it is. Speaking of the one from Nancy's wedding, the intro for this, or like the what is it called? The description for it. Thanks, I'm drunk too. It's called. It says, "Allow us to introduce ourselves. Coming to you live from Nothingville, Virginia."
Y'all were in the middle
All
of bumfuck nowhere in Virginia. You really were.
Mechanicsville. That's
Mechanicsville.
right.
Mechanics.
Yeah. Just
Yeah, the
reading through
Airbnb you
this.
booked was fucking hilarious.
Just reading through all of Emeka's like descriptions for the for the podcast episodes are just excellent.
Oh, they're
Very on
great.
brand for Emeka. I would like to, friend of the podcast, I'd like to hear more of Josh Levine's.
Oh yes,
Me
this is another
too.
big thing
Content.
this year.
Not friend of the
Yes.
podcast.
Yes.
I mean, he has his Social Bermuda interviewing podcast, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to hear like the original stuff that he's been cooking up is like
Yeah,
Really
really
good.
really
Do that.
spectacular. So I'm like hoping that timer goes
Yeah, I
off
mean,
soon, so he's ready
we
to
should do
share.
that already here in the next few
Yeah,
weeks.
I really enjoyed having him on the podcast. Like, I think the way he fit into our group actually worked really well, which does not always happen when we have
Yeah.
Oh.
groups.
No,
that
and I
have
mean,
people on.
we'll record a separate segment, but maybe at the beginning to put at the beginning of this. But Josh and I are starting an Enneagram school that we're calling the EnneagramSchool.com.
I was kind of
forward?
chuckling when you sent the link. I was because you guys were considering multiple names, so to finally end up calling it the Enneagram
I know.
School.
It, had a lot to do with like what was available in terms of
Yeah.
like for example, there was one name we were considering, something like that, something like Horizon or something, but something we were
Yeah.
considering that was like going to be minimum $500 to secure the URL.
Oh no,
like
no.
fuck this.
Yeah, no.
The kind of hustle people have for URLs and stuff like this. So anyway,
No, it works. It doesn't matter what the name is. You just need something.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, we're gonna do our own. We're gonna start a 4-part, pretty laid back class. Go to the EnneagramSchool.com for it. About Josh's, and I'm gonna like mostly attribute Josh's because it's his. He's got a developmental view of the centers, and I think it's really valuable and really interesting, and it gives new ways to work with the centers of intelligence and work with your type from the point of
And
view.
object relations too, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good, and I think it could be like a pretty revolutionary idea.
Yeah.
We're gonna start a 4-part class in January, just presenting this idea.
Are you gonna move your study group to that platform or keep it separate?
I don't know what I'm gonna do yet with study group. I've just been doing study group on Sundays, but this will be on Thursdays during starting mid-January.
Mhm.
So we'll see where it goes. But Josh and I are starting our own like school that's sort of related to all that we're doing, but it's
Right.
going to be its own thing.
I forgot to mention this. Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but I forgot to mention this because I'd done a session with some girl who was like super seriously into the Enneagram, and she was asking me, that she wants to get certified, and she was wanting a recommendation. I said, don't go get any of these cheap certifications; they don't mean anything.
I agree.
And I told her, like, John is doing these weekly study groups, and I didn't mention at the school, but I think what I wanted to mention was that there are a lot of people who are looking for like really serious formal Enneagram education, and they're going the route of the certification. I'm sure you've heard me say this a couple times. Like, you need to have you need to have a certification program.
I agree.
But just the school, I think, is a really important thing, because we've really established DAA this year, and DAA is sort of like a way for people to get experientially fluent with the Enneagram, which is important. But what's also really important is for people to have like the theoretical foundation from like a formal study of the Enneagram's concepts, and there's really nothing that I can recommend that's out there, and so this is really important.
Yeah, no, we're working on doing that, and like Josh is a great partner for me. Like one thing I'll say is that threes get shit on a lot in the Enneagram world, and like I have so much respect for Josh, and he's like a great person and just very sincere person, and it's been great to work with him because like I work 4 days a week with clients, and then on my 5th day I'll work with him, and I'll like often it's hilarious because I'm a late night person, so like I don't wake up till like 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So like he'll see me just like in absolutely incomprehensible like we go to a coffee shop nearby our place, like we live close together, and we work on that stuff, and so we want to it's very important to us to keep it within the Enneagram or big hormone Enneagram world,
mm-hmm.
and not do like an own thing that's like somehow separate.
Yeah.
But yeah, like kind of making something more formalized that can like teach people how to work with people.
Yeah.
We're in the process of birthing that, and it feels like it's real and valid in its own way. And like, Josh and I work with a lot of clients of different walks of life, and so feels like it can bring that experience in terms of what, like, it's one thing to know the Enneagram, it's another thing to work with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're in a process of like, what's that going to look like? And I don't know. It's been good, but I'm super exhausted all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I think about is kind of like all of us are, there's a lot of overlap between, all of us, but everyone sort of has their core specialty in a way, or the thing that only you can do. And so it's been cool to see, because I remember we were having meetings with Josh earlier this year, and he was, in a way trying to figure out, like, trying to find his voice in this space. And so it's been really cool to see Josh sort of like, because he had all this stuff that he's worked on, and he just needed to trust his own voice, and to see, you guys' partnership come together, because I do see that in both of you. Like, you guys, the teacher thing is not just like something you can do, it's something that is at the core of what you offer. And people really need that in our space. People really need like real formal education.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, one of the things I said to him was like, hey, you could write a book with all you got. And that, like, for some reason changed he was like got him going.
Yeah.
And it was interesting from the point of view of like attachment versus hexad.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And even our relationship is interesting from that point of view of just, I don't know how to describe it, but just something about what attachment needs versus what hexad needs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we've done a lot about attachment versus hexad this year, but I feel like there's still more to go.
For sure.
Because I'll say for me as a triple hexad. Triple hexad.
God,
He's a triangle type, everyone.
Yeah. Worst mistype ever.
Surprise, surprise. He's a 3.
No, but there is something I need. There's something that we as if you're triple hexad, you need.
Yeah.
And I'm too drunk to really like get really articulate with it, but
is it partly similar to the thing we've been talking about with as social blinds, kind of addressing our own humanity? I can see that there would be, part of attachment, attachment types, that is what being a human being is in a way,
mm-hmm.
is actually
being
all
an
the
attachment type. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like I am still catching up with what it means to be human, and I feel like I've suffered a lot for not knowing, and I feel like,
mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I'll have these moments of realizing what other people are absorbing that I have not absorbed,
mm-hmm.
and
yeah.
like realizing, even things be in front of my face, and there's some things that compared to other people I'm extremely perceptive about, and then there's things that are sort of commonly shared I'm not perceptive about at all, that I don't know how to take in, and I don't know how to adapt my structures to, and what that's cost me. And like, I feel like I have, as a non-attachment type at all, like position myself outside of something, and yet and still suffer for the lack of having participated in or even recognized as a collective knowing thing.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but like I recognized, like, I'm in my mid 30s, which is like, from a certain point of view, middle age, right? Like, it's not socially middle age, but it's like people who are in their late 20s or early 30s. It's like, you're actually becoming in the middle age, in the sense of in between your life and death.
Yeah.
And not to say that I think that anybody necessarily has it handled, but there's a way in which it's like the window of recognizing what it means to be human is pretty limited, actually. It's pretty short. And I feel like there was a lot of myself hidden during those years, without knowing any better.
Yeah.
And so anyway, there's something there to me about, I don't know, there's something there I'm learning about my, like, are you out of orbit from the Earth from the point of view, are you the moon, or are you the Mars, or are you Jupiter, or are you Pluto? Like, how much should you be in connection or not with all those things? And I feel like I've been Pluto for my whole life, and then I'm like trying to figure out what like Earth is like, and I don't know, there's a whole level of like suffering there. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I don't know, it's just been a thing to like the separateness.
I mean, it's you're describing an extreme imbalance, especially triple hexad and social blinds. It's just going to really make a wobbly something somewhere in the psyche.
And even like from the point of view of OPS, like I'm play last, right? And y'all are you and David, you and Emeka are play first, right?
And Alejohndra.
Yeah.
So there's a way that, besides just being a 4 and being, social blind, that you have this the feeling that the outside world is always there to take something away from you, and I like the sense that the whole world has to be contained within myself. And so there's a way that it can feel that you're pulling the outside world into your world. And so anytime that you're like something or someone might pull you outside of that box, it feels incredibly draining, and so being in, the opposite animal with play first, like it's like seeing how much I might see myself as a function of the outside world. And, like I have a pretty strong inner core, but I've recognized this year that there's a way that I have to make conscious effort to remind myself, because I can just keep, I can stay in the outside to such a degree, even if I think that I'm externalizing my internal world, that I can forget. I can do the assertive type thing to such a degree, and the play is kind of like, all right, we'll just do the next thing. The next thing comes along. That's the thing to fix. Oh, let's do that. And you can sort of forget your priorities. And it's happening on such a micro level that to see that this year has been a big deal. Like how to narrow down. Like one of the exercises I did was actually go back and think about each month of this year as an exercise. Like what happened, to actually review what I did. And I started going back into like, what about the last decade? What the fuck have I done? To actually see myself. That's been exercising seeing myself. Like what are the reoccurring patterns that I've been circling around for the last 5 years, the last 10 years? Everybody makes like these like New Year's resolutions, but like the end of the year comes by, you look back like, what did you actually do? Because that's probably what you're going to do next year. what meaningful, realistic changes could you make based on your recurring patterns? Like, instead of deluding yourself, like, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this. It's like, you're not. So I've been thinking about thinking about myself in a long enough timeline has been sort of like a revolutionary thought, because it's just not something I do.
Yeah, I'd like to go more into OPS, like what these like blind spots or whatever mean, because it's sort of hard for me to hold on to.
Yeah.
And like that, like, I mean, we don't know what Nancy is yet, but like all y'all have play first.
I think I'm consume play, aren't I?
No, David, you're play first. That's why you get us get us rolled up into all these dramas.
No, David.
Your history is very much play first.
Oh, okay. Somewhat of a scoundrel.
Wake up, 9.
Nancy's probably more introverted, I would guess.
Yeah.
Is that not play first? Is introverted not play first?
Yeah, not play first, because
basically what sleep savior.
Play means is just like we just meddle too much into stuff that's not our.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Describe. All right. So what am I? What am I?
You
are consume, sleep, blast, and then play last.
Play last.
And so y'all are all play first, right?
Play first.
And so what does it mean to be play first versus play last?
Emeka, you're up. I have like a impulsive blast savior interpretation.
Yes. You don't know what you're talking about, like, so shut up.
Yeah. All right. And that taps me out. Back to you, Emeka.
No, like play is a combination of your two, an extroverted observer and an extroverted decider. So play is a thing that we do to externally expend energy to either connect with other people or to get things done. And so people who are kind of like the instincts, whatever you're dominant in is like the water you swim in, you think that you're obligated to do that. And so the thing that happens on the podcast where Alexandra can just sort of like, if she's in a conversation, she knows how to like ping off the people in the conversation. And I do the same thing. If this person said this thing, that can be a bridge to the thing that this other person said. Or play is sort of like, I know how to connect the dots in this situation, solve a problem, bridge connection. So a lot of TV show hosts and comedians and whatever are usually play saviors, because that's kind of what you have to do. And so what happens with John, I've mentioned this, I knew that you were play last as one thing I was sure of. It's like, John has his thing. It doesn't matter what the person said before. John's gonna be like, so the thing that we mentioned 10 minutes ago that I want to talk about that has nothing to do with what the person just said.
Is it kind of like I take a giant dump on what everybody's saying all the time?
Well, I think one of the things
just not moving, not just pinging around.
You're not pinging, and you've mentioned this before. I'm going to ruin the vibe, so I'm just going to go on my rant. You know,
yeah.
Is it possibly just not responding to what has been put forward, but just like going on his own direction? So it's just like if we're talking about the color blue, he'll be like, actually about Egypt,
right?
It's not
and if somehow transitioning from the color blue to Egypt.
I will say that you've gotten better. Like, it's just as a matter of doing this podcast, it's like if you listen to the early podcasts, like our conversations were very social blind, and you were just like, you know, we're going in so many different directions. But I think you're a lot better than you were before. But it is this kind of a thing where there's this very small limited box, and you've mentioned before that you have a really hard time just having like a basic normal conversation with people that's just random. If it's not the thing, it's not included in what you normally talk about. So I always thought that had to be play last.
Makes sense.
I've always appreciated that when John and I are alone in a room, both of us just sit in silence with each other.
Probably not extroverted, yeah.
Yeah, where I like can sit in silence. I think it's due to like triple attachment or withdrawn or whatever. But I definitely do have a feeler out of like, okay, what is everybody wanting, needing, what's going on? What is like the thing that I can like be responding to?
Right.
Even if I don't fucking want to be responding to it. I feel like an absolute obligation and pressure to be like, no, I need to be I need to be keeping the energy being
right.
Like,
keep the ball up in the air.
Yes, keep the ball up in the air. God, this is so embarrassing.
Yeah, so it's interesting that, you know, you're triple attachment and I've got, social blind and whatever else, but like generally, if I like people, I tend to work well with people because I know, like, okay, this is what the situation needs. I know Joseph's personality. I know David's personality. I know my personality. I know this is the midpoint between all three of us. This is what's going to work for us. So, like, kind of gauging the sense of chemistry, and that's, I think, what play is put you in any situation. I'll figure out how to connect with all the variables and find the through line.
Yep.
Do you have a guess on me, Emeka?
I would say I think
And then you
think
take
Savior.
bets.
I think it's I think she might be SI. That's my guess. SIFI.
Oh, I don't know any of that.
I don't know what that means.
Well, what is that
Either.
type? That is an
Introverted sensing.
Yeah, introverted ISTJ in this system. But I mean, you come across like a grumpy, productive person.
A grumpy what?
Productive person.
Productive person.
Productive
Yeah,
person.
that's pretty accurate.
In the sense that you're very matter of fact, you're very grounded. Like usually if we're going too far off the deep end, like you're going to be asking questions like, so what is that? What does that mean? Yeah, if I had to guess, that's what I would guess. It's like you're very sense of, you want to organize your sensory. So your lifestyle, it's like even the stuff that you're interested in is like trying to organize the sensory. So that would be my guess. But you'd have to make a video and I'd have to really like go through their typing system and see.
Well, to pivot a little bit, but I guess it's still kind of related, is getting my OPS typing back today. John and I have exactly opposite everything.
Mm-hmm.
Our stacking is exactly opposite. His dominant is
Wow.
my last. My dominant is his last. Our
But you have the same
middle
functions.
two are also we do have the same functions.
But
Even
it's
our
just opposite animals. Yeah.
sensory and whatever DE thing or whatever. I'm MF. He's FM.
Yeah.
That's a good
There's
one,
so
right?
much.
That's really
it's just
cool.
Like the pattern of polarity just continues because we have he's sexual self-pres, I'm social self-pres, he's triple hexad, I'm triple attachment. Like there's just kind of circling back to what we were talking about. Like we do have a potential idea for starting a kind of like relationship subject kind of podcast thing. I don't know how it's going to work necessarily. Purely because we have the information from the Enneagram and we have such like opposite experiences,
Yes.
such opposing experiences, but are still tapped into the information enough to kind of like use it and reflect on how I don't know. I feel like maybe arrogantly, I feel like
No, it'd be great.
potentially
Yeah,
every
would be
possible
great.
relationship issue has come up between us and we've been able to look at it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys have like a true polarity because that's one thing I was curious about. They talk about the sexual modalities because, and that's one of the things that you notice about people. And so John's, FM and you being MF makes a lot of sense. And also you guys have that polarity in terms of the fucking animals, but you have the same, functions at play. So it's like,
Yeah. Built-in
Bravo.
polarity. Yeah.
once in a lifetime chemistry, yo.
Yeah.
Don't fuck it up.
Thank you. I kind of knew I was going to be MF. Like I knew there was some talk around me being FF.
Bad
I just
kinda
thought you
knew
were-
it was going to be.
I just
I
thought you
kinda
were
knew it was
audio.
gonna be M.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the-
I don't know what
it's-
that means.
It's the audio modality. It's the
Bad
audio
motherfucker. Enough.
Yeah. I kind of figured it was going to be M just because of like I don't know if I'm getting this right, but like the timeline thinking versus the
Sure.
image
Yeah.
memory or whatever. But
Right.
also just like I kind of have always gotten consistent feedback that sort of like my in-person kind of presence is a little off-putting. I don't know if off-putting is the right word, but a little like not
Forceful.
That's
necessarily
how I
approachable.
described you.
Yeah. Thanks, David. Good. Whatever. This continues the trend of 9 with all the, I don't know, sort of like modality results
9
that
on
work
9 violence.
directly against a 9 self-image.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, the audio. It's because that's what it's called. John's is called visual.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
extremely visual
That's interesting,
oriented.
too. Yeah.
And so yours is as a singer, musician. I'm not saying that most musicians are going to be that modality, but someone who relates to music kinesthetically is going to be likely audio because it's like trying to feel around with your body where things feel right. And so the way you remember things is going to be through that modality of sound and feeling.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I mean that tracks.
I am quickly falling asleep. So either I can leave and you guys can continue, or we can end.
Oh, so
you.
precious, sleepy. Ooh.
Oh, it's 12:30 here. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, I go to bed at 4. Oh, it's so precious type. Oh, sleepy.
Nancy, don't let me forget. I'll send you the link to all this stuff, and maybe you can get this video done in next. I know you can get it done in the next couple of days because you're
Yeah,
a productive.
I will.
believe
I
in
mean,
you.
I also have nothing
I believe I have
else going
faith
Watch
in
it.
you, Nancy, because some
Watch it. Watch it.
other people
Watch it.
here can't be trusted to be productive.
Emeka, I take back everything I said. You're very rude and mean.
Yeah,
Hey,
no, we
did
don't.
it
like
work or
all,
did it not
Emeka.
work? Did it work?
It didn't work. You put it off because you kept pressuring me. I would have gotten it done within a month if you had just left it alone.
Oh, yeah, if you didn't pressure her.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
No,
little baby nine.
no. I know that.
Instead,
Well, don't
This
pressure her.
Oh,
I know
no,
that it
she's
worked.
gonna get angry.
I know that it
Hey,
You
worked.
get angry if you pressure her.
I'm always going to pressure you. You don't get it done. You just get roasted mercilessly until you get it done. That's what happens. And now you just get roasted anyway because it took so long to get it done. I'm just going to find more reasons to roast you. That's just what's going to happen.
all right, fine. I'm just going to become
All right.
a worthy
Consume last.
adversary.
Consume last.
All right, send me that shit, Emeka.
All right. Before we go, is there anything y'all envision for
all right.
2023? Our fucking, what is it, third year of doing podcasts?
This is our third year.
Yeah, I was
Next
gonna say
year is
this
gonna be our fourth
2023
year.
is our fourth.
Oh my God.
Fourth year.
God,
Jesus.
you can't even count.
Can't even count.
I mean, one thing we did talk about was doing
Unless it's
Alejohndra React live stream to reality TV show.
Yes.
That would be so fun.
Honestly, I would watch that shit. I would. Yeah.
There's just
I'm
like,
very
you know,
verbally reactive to it all.
We just watched the finale of, what is it?
Temptation Island.
Temptation Island. Okay.
Ooh, yes.
I don't miss having to watch those.
Well, you're lost.
I lost a lot of things that I don't miss.
Oh.
It's so good. I'll go on a whole blast about why reality TV is the sample size for all of humanity and why you can glean a lot of information through watching that. But that's a blast for another time.
She'll
That's
be
your
like,
own Enneagram
I can't
school.
believe Carson is whatever. And I'll be like,
Wow,
yeah.
you're nailing that.
Something I found myself saying today was, that guy's just a Stockholm fuckboy. He's just trying to be like a fake, vulnerable Stockholm fuckboy. Is what that guy is. And he was.
And John, we should do more, have more esteemed guests on the podcast next year, like Ian Cron.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
David Favre should make his appearance on the podcast.
I think so too.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Oh, I couldn't be in the same podcast room as that man. I would fly to wherever he is and kick him in the face if you put me in the same podcast room as
I
him.
think we should actually try to get the actual David Favre on the podcast.
Oh, hell no.
Oh my God. I would no.
I think you should.
No.
Or we can
I'll
roast him
interview
for
him.
an hour.
I'll interview
I
him.
refuse.
Come on.
No, but
I
imagine
refuse.
if we did it all friendly and stuff, and then we just
Yeah.
completely ganged up on it.
That's what I mean. I'll do it. I'll start it. I'll introduce him. I'll ask him questions. I'll seem
He'll
really
just
interested,
leave.
and then you guys can just get on.
We'll just roast him for like
it'd
5
be-
minutes. He'll leave.
He'll just pull a Trump and
It'd be
hang up.
hilarious. It'd be so funny. Yeah, we should get real
Anyway.
David Favre.
We shouldn't do this because it's mean, guys.
No, it's. I mean,
Mean is
whether
our
you post on
brand.
Facebook, you just
That'd be fun. Yeah, more fuckery in 2024.
more fuckery.
Is
Yeah,
it 2023? Oh, it's
God,
2023.
yeah, 2020.
2023, yeah.
Yeah.
We have to finish the wings.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Probably won't finish it next
Yeah.
year because we only did 4 this year. So
Yeah.
somebody's
Courtney
not.
has to come back.
Yeah, she's
and
gotta come
roast
back.
the
Yeah. Give me
frustration
more Courtney
types.
and Julie. I want
Yeah.
to
Julie was amazing.
Julie.
Yeah,
Julie
find an
wasn't
excuse to
bad.
bring Julie back.
Yeah,
really
I
glad
could
y'all
talk
liked
to Julie,
Julie.
I could talk to Julie all day.
That was great.
That's good.
That woman
Like,
is
yeah,
just a gorgeous
I'm
little
really
angel.
looking forward to telling Julie like how much y'all appreciate her, and like being a 6. I think sometimes she doesn't always.
No, she's amazing, man. She was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, like doesn't always see her value directly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she was great. She was amazing, and really glad for her to like continue to like bring out her contribution.
It felt like we could have done several more episodes on that topic alone. Like it just felt like we were just scratching
Yeah.
the surface on what she had.
Yeah. Oh my God. I
available.
could have talked for hours with her.
Yeah, we should continue that subject because I think there is more to extract. It feels directly. It feels like it directly correlates to the instincts somehow. I don't know how, but it feels like feminine masculine polarity does have a direct relationship to like an instinctual aliveness. So that should definitely be continued. And I said this already, but I do think Josh deserves another shout out. Hopefully, the listeners will get to hear his own original content, not just his like Bermuda extractions from other people, because he's excellent at doing that kind of like digging for gold within other people. Right. But his original content is really, really like precise and impressive and astute. And
like the stuff that he did on the spiral dynamics was I mean, that was really good.
Yeah.
That was really, really good.
And I think it's, John was kind of saying this earlier, but 3 gets kind of a reputation, you know, it just has a reputation. We all know what it is. But Josh has like, I think he's a true testament to a 3 that has done a lot of inner work. Because you can tell that he's a 3, you know, you can tell that he has like a sort of image focus, but he has a lot of substance. Yeah. He has a lot of really like character of heart. And yeah, just a lot of information that comes from his own integrity.
Yeah, he's got a real sincere heart. And I mean, of course, you know, 3s can get into stuff like inner work and get really productive and just churn out like a lot of really good stuff, or just productive stuff. But it's clear that he's allowed this stuff to really penetrate him and really get under his skin. And so the stuff that he's talking about it's obvious that it's not just 3 productivity shit. It's coming from a sincere curiosity. And I guess that's one of the things I've noticed as a distinction, a social distinction, is watching the people who are now coming in who have listened to a lot of the podcast and who are into our stuff, but to see that there's still a big difference between people who can sort of like respond to what we're doing versus the people who have like a sincere, curious encounter with themselves and are looking for that. And they care more about that more than anything else, more than even getting in with us or us being seen them in any sort of way. And, you know, the events, the stuff that we had happen with the Last Zone was like, yeah, it's more than just being into the Enneagram and even sort of like seeing your type. There's a whole nother level of how seriously are you taking encountering yourself with this stuff in a sincere way.
And, you know, in 2023, fucking whatever.
Nailed it.
I'm getting progressively drunker. I want to hear more from our listeners. You know what I mean? Like I want y'all to step up in terms of like we got the love line and all the other shit. Like, tell us what you're interested in, and let's be more interactive in terms of going down these rabbit holes and whatever. Like, I mean, some people's questions or whatever are absolute nonsense, but there's some people that have like a real burning thing, and yeah, like I don't know. I want to hear from that, and like I just feel like it's been there's an element there of collaboration, or I'm getting pretty drunk, but yeah. Anyway, there's a thing there.
I think we should do personal Q&As. Everybody should ask us intrusively personal questions. And
do that.
People just want us. People, we've asked them to ask those questions, but they just want more information from us. I do think that there was a drop off after the summer because, you know, the pandemic really, really ended and people started going back to their external lives, and so there has been less people just interacting with the podcast.
You did say that this year's, I mean, in like the screenshots of different Spotify whatever showed that there's been more listeners this year, right?
Yeah, we got way more listeners. I just wonder, I just noticed that there was a drop off kind of like after August, September, like the fall is when it seemed like people were really getting back into the swing. It's not like we dropped off. It's just like we had a peak from like the summer to fall, and then once it seems like people are really going back to work, that I hadn't seen a love line in a really long time, or even a rating or a review until I mentioned it on the pod. So hopefully maybe there's a little bit of a rebound early next year, because this is really around the time people start looking at themselves, and so we'll see.
All right. Dave's gotta go.
All right, you
David's gotta go.
maniacs.
I need to smoke a cigar.
What a great year.
Happy New Year, guys.
All right,
New
love
Year.
y'all fools.
Happy New Year.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Here's to
Keeping
another year
this
of
weird. All right, and thanks to our listeners and whatever. Fuck y'all. And
Yeah.
everyone
Leave us
who's
reviews.
all our haters, all our lovers. We appreciate you all.
lovers and haters.
Lovers
Yeah.
and haters.
Toast to the fools.
Toast to the fools. Oh, love you guys.
Teaching
Love you
bitches how to
too.
swim in 2022 and 2023. Teaching
Amen.
bitches how to swim.
In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the
We need to
Holy
record a opener for Alexandra to be added.
Yes.
Because she's on all these things.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
we do need to record a new one. I'm tired of hearing my old podcast
Yeah,
voice.
I need to read
Like
that.
timid ass little bitch.
We've advanced in our professionalism and our audio charisma.
All right.
When you call her, her voicemail on the phone. Hey, this is Alexandra.
We should do an ad where we
I'm calling her.
we do an
immediately.
exaggerated pronunciation of her name with the rolled R that doesn't stop. We're just like,
Arroyo Acevedo.
But say Alexandra in Spanish.
No.
Yeah, say it. I love it.
No.
Go for it.
John, you're embarrassing me in front of my friends.
Say it.
No.
Say it. It's
Say
like,
it. Say it.
My
Do
name
it.
is Alexandra. Alexandra Arroyo Acevedo.
And good night, everyone. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. God bless you all.
Alexandra Arroyo Acevedo.
Is this inappropriate play?
I'm the player.
Oh my god.
All right.
what a year, guys.
All right.
Yeah.
Another year. Another toast to the fools. Love y'all. This is really fun doing the podcast with y'all.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely. Love you guys. It's been fun.
You
You
too.
guys.
Another year down the hatch. All right, guys.
We'll do a
Later.
private zone.
Later. Yes, we will. Bye.
Bye.
Prodigal, fuck that nautical, teaching bitches how to swim. Teaching bitches how to swim. Teaching bitches how to swim.